It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we are entering 2009, and as we always do on the show, on the first weekend of the new year, because there aren't any big new releases that come out, we have one new release that comes out this weekend, but per usual, we have our leftovers. As you can see, from 2008, not a whole lot of notable movies on there, just only 7 in particular, so about the normal size of a regular episode, but I say they're not notable, but they're notable for certain reasons. Most of these are direct-to-video titles, but it marks a significant change in the direct-to-video department, because as we're going to see with this first movie here, The Little Mermaid, Ariel's beginning, it was the beginning of Ariel in this movie, but it was pretty much the end of Disney's normal way of doing the direct-to-DVD movies. And what do I mean by that? I'll tell you more after this.
Disney Pictures presents The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning. Discover the story you never knew.
There's more to this place than meets the eye.
How one daring mermaid transformed an entire kingdom.
Come on, Sebastian, let's go.
That girl is working on my last claw.
When a friendship was formed.
My name's Flounder. Woohoo!
And how music came alive. The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning. An all-new movie on Disney DVD. Coming soon. And you can watch a sneak peek today by logging on to littlemermaiddvd.com.
All it took was Ariel losing her mother to music. No, seriously, music is banned in this movie because Ariel's mother gets killed in an accident, and but that's literally how this whole thing goes. The movie basically is that you have the story that's taking place, the events before the 1989 classic, of course, and the 2000 sequel. And in this one, as I said, all music has been banned from the underwater kingdom of Atlantica by King Triton, and his youngest daughter Ariel attempts to challenge this law. And I'll give it this. The most interesting thing about this movie in particular is that I like how, as the Disney direct-to-video movies were kind of winding down at this point, because this was the last of the Disney direct-to-video sequels that they were doing at that point. They would still make direct-to-DVD movies, but they'd be mostly like Air Bud movies or Beverly Hills Chihuahua, or another series of films that we'll get to in just a little bit here. But they got better and better as they went along here. Like, they were looking more like theatrical releases than direct-to-video movies, and that's really the best thing about the movie here, is that the animation in this is really damn good. I mean, this is some really impressive animation overall here. I mean, this is definitely way better than what we saw in Little Mermaid 2, Return to the Sea. I mean, yeah, it's still direct-to-DVD animation, but you could just tell more effort was being put into the animation with these movies as they were dwindling down here. But unfortunately, that's the best thing about the movie in general, and that can't really save the rest of the film, which is really kind of a dud in all the other departments. Let's start with the story. It's literally just Footloose done in the world of The Little Mermaid, and that's about it. I mean, you could pinpoint every single line, every single moment that was taken from Footloose in order to have a story that can be stretched out into a feature-length movie. There is nothing creative or new done with this. I mean, it's not the first time somebody's copied Footloose but has made it work. I mean, Avatar did an episode that was literally just Footloose, and yet it was still a really good episode overall. Except in that one, they're not really singing all that much. It was just like letting kids have fun, especially when Aang has to be as part of the I can't remember what the episode was. Now I can't remember what it was. The Headband is what it was called. It was an episode where they had to go through the Fire Nation, and Aang gets mistaken for somebody who's in one of the Fire Nation schools, and basically he has to pretend that he's a member of the school, and he realizes that none of the other kids there are allowed to be just kids and dance around and have fun and all that type of stuff. And yeah, it's an episode that feels really out of place overall, but in the end, it's still not a bad episode, but it just feels really, really odd to do a Footloose episode in the world of Avatar. It just seemed really, really weird. But back to The Little Mermaid. I mean, even the songs, what was supposed to be the main crux of the movie, they don't really gel all that well. None of them have that same memorability as the songs in the original movie, and you automatically forget them the second they all end. I mean, it's that bad. The voice work overall is very good. I give the film praise for that fact that they got Jodie Benson back as Ariel, and I think you put her in there, and it's instantly worth it right there. I mean, you also have Jim Cummings in the role of King Triton, which you can never go wrong with him. Sebastian's once again played by Samuel E. Wright. I mean, the voice actors they got to replace the other actors, like for Flounder and Ariel's sisters, they were good overall. The biggest problem with the movie overall is the main antagonist, which, man, Sally Field's in this movie playing the villain, and how do you mess that opportunity up? Well, you do it by basically saying that she's essentially a young Ursula, and there's just one problem here. She isn't playing Ursula. She's playing a completely different character who has the same mannerisms and character traits that Ursula does, but it's not Ursula. And to me, that's the biggest fault of the movie by far, because you bring in a completely new character who could have easily been written as Ursula and have it connect to the first movie, but they don't do that here. So now we have an entirely pointless villain who was never mentioned in any of the other movies or the TV show, and was brought in here to create a gigantic continuity error. And they kind of tease in at the end that this is the person that's going to become Ursula, but there's nothing here that indicates that this woman, that this Sally Field plays, is going to turn into Ursula, except for that little bit they threw in there at the end. I mean, Bambi 2 kind of had the same thing. Like, Bambi had a bully character named Rollo, and some were saying that, you know, that's the bully that's eventually going to meet up with Bambi when Bambi grows up and tries to get with Feline. And that makes more sense because he looks like the same deer that Bambi fights when we see him all grown up. But, I mean, that makes sense in that movie. Here, it does not make sense whatsoever. I mean, this thing could have had the potential to be a pretty good prequel. Tell us more about the world of Aquatica. Expand on the world you've invented here. But by going for a cliched storyline and a pointless antagonist that doesn't connect to anything we've seen beforehand, you have an incredibly pointless but beautifully animated and, for the most part, well-acted movie. Regardless, it's not worth it in the end. It's a disappointing effort, to say the least, and I wanted so much more out of it. Some might say, you know, if I could sing like Ariel from Part of Your World, I want more, like that type of stuff. But, yeah, I wish there was more in this to really enjoy, but I can't do that, unfortunately. So, a hard skip on The Little Mermaid, Ariel's Beginning. And as it was Ariel's beginning in this, it was the end of, as I said, the Disney direct-to-DVD movies, because they were moving on to other forms of direct-to-DVD movies, and there was competition coming in from back at the time, their biggest animation competitor, with Warner Brothers, who were starting up their own direct-to-DVD library and starting it off with their own series of animated movies. Not starting with this movie here, but probably the most notable of the three they had done at this point, Batman Gotham Knight.
I'm willing to put my life on the line to do what I have to. But it has to be mine, no one else's.
So yeah, I forgot to put Superman Doomsday in the 2007 leftovers, because that was officially the first of these DC animated films that started out being produced by Bruce Timm. And of course, Bruce Timm, for those of you who don't know, was the main guy behind Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, all those shows you used to watch back in the 90s, and all, like, he's part of the reason why those shows were memorable, and why everyone got excited when they started doing these movies again, because you were having him come back after so many of these movies that were coming out after 2001, after Justice League came out, were not really all that good. Superman Brainiac Attacks wasn't that great. Mystery of the Batwoman was, it wasn't that bad overall, but it definitely felt lesser compared to some of the stuff that was coming before from these guys. But they were the main producers on these movies, and Batman Gotham Knight was the biggest one they had up to that point, because we had The Dark Knight coming out around that time, and this is a anthology film in the same style as The Animatrix. Now, of course, The Animatrix was 9 different short films from 9 different animators centering around the world of The Matrix, and like that movie, we have this film here, which is 6 different segments. They're all different segments with different animation styles, different people behind it, and they're not necessarily meant to be canon to the Nolanverse, and all of them have Kevin Conroy as the voice of Batman in them. You have a story that's basically kind of a movie version of the episode of the Legend of the Dark Knight from Batman the Animated Series, where you have these kids telling the story about Batman and all these different stories that they have, and then Batman comes in at the end to fight a bad guy, and they become part of the story. Then there's a second story called Crossfire, where Batman and James Gordon has to send out Crispus Allen and Anna Ramirez, and they go out to fight this Russian mafiosa, and this guy Maroni, played by Rob Paulsen. I gotta say, Rob Paulsen as Maroni was surprisingly pretty good. I mean, you're hearing Yakko Warner saying "son of a bitch" and I'll kill her, I swear to God, and the way he's doing it, like, it's pretty fun to watch. And of course, Batman shows up at the end to save the day in that one. The next one you have is Field Test, which is the one that features Lucius Fox, played here by Kevin Michael Richardson. And in that one, Bruce Wayne, it's basically a Bruce Wayne storyline where you have an accident involving a new Wayne-Comp satellite gyroscopic electromagnetic guidance system, which gives Lucius Fox an idea to create a device with a satellite's gyro with an advanced sound sensor that will electromagnetically detect small arms fires. Bruce Wayne takes the device and attends a charity golf tournament by developer Ronald Marshall, once again played by Corey Burton, who played him in the previous segment, with whom he discusses the mysterious death of a woman and who opposes some of Marshall's plans. And of course, Batman comes in to go after him, and that leads to the end of that story. In Darkness Dwells is one where you have Batman going up against the Scarecrow, and I believe he also goes up against not Bane. Is Killer Croc in that one? Killer Croc is in one of these. Yeah, Killer Croc is definitely in this one, because I remember the fight scene that he and Batman get into, and it's really good. Like, it's a really, really damn good segment. Working Through Pain is basically continuing from the story of In Darkness Dwells, where Batman gets shot in the stomach by a man hallucinating in the sewers of Gotham, and he's basically taken back to his time when he got to go ahead and do surgery when he was a surgeon in He was basically assisting a doctor in performing anesthesia back in the day, and the whole thing is basically how Bruce experiences managing pain and where that'll come from. And it's a very intriguing short, blending the past and present nicely and showing us a nice take of how Bruce overcame his pain and his fears to become who he is today. And then the last one you have here is called Deadshot, and this you have, of course, this is where you have Deadshot in here, played by Jim Meskimen, who also plays James Gordon in here. And all these segments are really, really good. I think they do an amazing good job of giving Batman all these unique and visual animation styles, while also blending in a lot of really good stories, decent character development, and also some really good, pretty tense, and exciting action sequences in this. I mean, this is really, really impressive stuff. The Animatrix was good, but there was only about half of the segments in there that were actually really damn good in that one, and only half of them were about 50-50, so-and-so. I mean, the whole thing was pretty much 50-50, but the best stuff in there, probably the Final Flight of the Osiris, and maybe the one where the kid, there's one in the Animatrix where a kid, I think, is trying to commit suicide. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember half of the shorts being good, but here, this really is a pitch-perfect direct-to-video film, anthology film, where everything just works, it comes together so well. It's a terrific film. It's one you should definitely check out. But before we had Batman Gotham Knight, we had Justice League, The New Frontier.
The frontier of unknown opportunity and peril. I'm asking each of you to be pioneers towards that new frontier.
This is based off of course, Darwin Cook's graphic novel, the same name. It focuses on test pilot Hal Jordan, played by David Boreanaz, and the Martian Manhunter, Miguel Ferrer, and also features a story that includes DC characters like Barry Allen, The Flash, who's played by Neil Patrick Harris, Superman, played by Kyle MacLachlan, Wonder Woman is played by Lucy Wallace, Batman's played by Jeremy Sisto, and the story is that World War II is over and the Cold War has begun. The age of the superhero is in decline. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman, who survived the anti-hero sentiment of the Cold War, are, as well as eager newcomers like test pilot Hal Jordan and scientist Barry Allen and Ray Palmer, team up to defeat a threatening alien presence on Earth. And the 50 style definitely works towards the film's advantage, giving it a real interesting period piece vibe to it. 3 years, of course, before the first Captain America brought that to the live-action scope. And again, you can definitely see that Bruce Timm's contributions to the film are definitely present. He gives these films this terrific visual style and stays true to the comics that the films are based on. Everybody in the cast is working very well here. A lot of the actors in here are very good here. Not only do you have the names I told you before, but John Hurt is in here, Brooke Shields, Kira Sedgwick, Phil Morris, Keith David, Vicki Lewis. They're all playing these great superhero characters, and they're doing a pretty damn good job of it. It's nicely tight. It only runs about an hour and a half, less than an hour and a half. I think actually less than that, an hour and 15 minutes, which is not that long at all. But it moves at a good enough pace, and it never feels like a point where they're just padding it out for the sake of padding it out. The animation is great in this. The action sequences are top notch. It's a smart, solidly written, beautifully animated, tense, and well-acted movie that proved that DC can really... Warner Brothers was ready to compete with Disney with these animated movies going straight to DVD, and they were just on a roll. I mean, they were just coming out of the gate swinging with these movies. These are really good films. Justice League: The New Frontier is really good, but the best one of these three that we've talked about, that I've talked about up to this point, Batman: Gotham Knight. Although I really like Superman: Doomsday. Superman: Doomsday is a good movie. I should have brought that up in the 2007 leftovers, but if I'm picking the best one, it's definitely Batman: Gotham Knight, but Justice League: The New Frontier is definitely very much high up there. It's just showed the beginning of what was to come from the DC universe animated movies they were doing. But so with that said, let's go to another Warner Brothers direct-to-DVD movie, one I talked about when I talked about Get Smart. Here's the spin-off film, Bruce and Lloyd: Out of Control.
After you've seen Get Smart in theaters, meet the brains behind the intelligence.
Bruce, Lloyd, where are you two going? Early lunch?
Yes? No? Why?
Good Lord, we're in the spy business. Lie better.
Because when it comes to secret weapons,
You guys are geniuses.
nobody does it smarter than Bruce and Lloyd.
Whoa! Optical camouflage technology. A little something Bruce and Lloyd have been working on. And spin it, and spin it, and spin it.
What are you doing?
I thought I was invisible.
Even if you were.
Now, their greatest invention has gone missing.
This was taken outside the Paraguayan embassy.
We can't have a hostile dictator in possession of the invisibility technology.
And Get Smart's gadget guys have to get it back.
She's the one that stole the OCT?
You simply entrap the female target, in this case, Isabella. Use her to get into the embassy.
Hello, I'm Isabella.
Hello.
On July 1st,
What do you think of Jaime?
Does he speak?
If you relax, your death will be much quicker.
Bruce and Lloyd are out of the lab.
Oh, shit.
Out of their league.
Holy Lord.
Dude, you said that really loud. Holy Lord!
And out of control. Not one word. Get Smart's Bruce and Lloyd out of control.
Mayday, we got sprinklers.
He's not responding.
Aboard! Aboard! Aboard!
Great. Now we lost the Jaime head.
Found it.
Buy it July 1st on Blu-ray and DVD.
So yeah, this was a really odd thing to do. Shoot a second movie while you're also making this much bigger movie with Get Smart, and I don't know what I don't know what the whole concept was. Like, was this planned all along, or was this kind of like Anchorman, where they had so much lost footage from maybe a subplot they would have had with these two characters, and just said, "Fuck it, let's make a movie and send it straight to DVD." I don't know. I don't know if we ever found out how this actually came to be, but is it any good? In here, you have Nate Torrance and Masi Oka, who are Bruce and Lloyd. And both being national security agents, the CIA and Control have a sometimes friendly, sometimes not so friendly relationship. Control may now have the upper hand in the rivalry when Bruce and Lloyd, two of their nerdish inventors working in the Gadget's laboratory, are close to perfecting their optical camouflage technology, aka an invisibility cloak. This is much to the chagrin of their counterparts at the CIA, Bob and Howard. Bob and Howard, I believe, are played by... Howard is played by Brian Callen. Mitch Ross is the one who plays Bob. The more personal rivalry between Bruce Lloyd and Bob and Howard is fostered by their respective bosses, who happen to be competitive twin brothers, both played by Larry Miller, who had a cameo in the bigger Get Smart movie. And Bruce and Lloyd may be in deep trouble when their own prototype of the OCT goes missing. They initially believe that Bob and Howard may have it, or worse, it has fallen into the hands of Control's arch enemy, Chaos. But they discovered that it was stolen by a beautiful woman named Isabella, played by Marika Dominicics. I think I'm pronouncing that name right. You saw her in The 40-Year-Old Virgin as Paul Rudd's eventual girlfriend at the end of the movie. But she's working for a country, Maragway, and Bruce and Lloyd, with Bruce's girlfriend and fellow Control technology geek Nina at the side, go on a mission to retrieve the OCT back from the Maragwanian government, who they learn has ties to Chaos. But they also learn that Bob and Howard are also trying to retrieve the OCT for the CIA's glory, and that Isabella is working on her own personal agenda. So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on in here. So maybe this was always meant to be a movie that was supposed to be on the sidelines with the original Get Smart movie, but they do have a lot of the same people from Get Smart in here. Like, they have Patrick Warburton and Terry Crews in more substantial roles. Like I said, Larry Miller has a more substantial role. The secretary, who had a brief cameo in the beginning of the movie, of the first movie, has a little bit of a bigger role in here, sort of. I mean, she's still kind of not the main focus of the film, but I mean, she still has a little bit of a major part in here. Even Anne Hathaway shows up in here for a little bit of an uncredited cameo to kind of tie everything back to the original movie, because this is supposed to take place during the events of the first movie, when Control is has been under lockdown, and it's, for what it is, it's not a bad idea, and it is a competently made movie. It's a film that I think is a good film. It's not as good as Get Smart. I think the original Get Smart movie is still the best of the bunch. But then again, it's really not saying a whole lot, because this was a movie that was made on the side, and it was made by a lot of the same people who were working on that movie. So yeah, it's reasonable to expect the direct-to-DVD movie to not have that same spark as a big theatrical release. It has Steve Carell, Anne Hathaway, Dwayne Johnson, and Alan Arkin among its cast. But for what they give us here, with a lot of notable character actors, or actors that weren't at the time as well known as they are nowadays, like, I mean, Patrick Warburton, Terry Crews, not a whole lot of people really know who they are if you don't watch a lot of television. But yeah, it's a chance for them to get a chance to shine in here. You know, Masaoka from Heroes, I mean, he's proving that he's not just the guy from Heroes. I mean, he's been in a lot of other films where he gets to show what he can do, and this is one of those movies. Nate Torrance, a great character actor who gets a chance to shine in this film. A lot of good talent all across the board in here. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a very enjoyable film, and I think if you like Get Smart, you can find a lot of value in this film in general. It's not going to have that same spark as the Get Smart movie did, but it's still a fun movie overall. It's still an entertaining film, and what I'd say, it's definitely worth checking out. Definitely check this one out if you saw the original Get Smart movie. Bruce and Lloyd, Out of Control. So let's go to the next movie here, which is another Disney direct-to-DVD movie, but a notable change from their stuff that they had done before. Let's take a look at Tinkerbell.
Have you ever wondered how nature gets its glow? Who gives it light and color as the seasons come and go? The secret is, it's all the work of fairies. And within a special place called Pixie Hollow, fairies of every talent practice their magical abilities and prepare for the change of seasons. But one day, a very special fairy would arrive with a magic like nothing they'd ever seen. You know her name,
Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell? Tinkerbell.
Now, discover the story of the world's most beloved fairy. How she came to be, found her place, and changed her world forever. Tinkerbell, an all-new movie. Coming soon on Disney DVD and Blu-ray.
So yeah, this is definitely a notable change from what Disney was doing with their direct-to-video movies, because Little Mermaid Ariel was beginning with the last of the direct-to-DVD sequels, and most of the animated movies they were doing straight to DVD eventually just became this franchise they were trying to set up, the Disney Fairies, with Tinkerbell being the first one of that series. The spin-off film, of course, of the character from Peter Pan. And notable because this was the first ever time that Tinkerbell ever had a speaking role in here. It was originally supposed to be Brittany Murphy, but then she was passed over for Mae Whitman, of course, from I keep thinking she was on Arrested Development, but Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She's been a prolific voice actress for so many years, but she took on the role. She became the voice of Tinkerbell, and follows Tinkerbell's origin story before she met Peter Pan and works out in a place called Pixie Hollow and struggles with what her talent is. And from the get-go, from that trailer, you could pretty much tell who this movie was aimed for. Little girls under the age of like maybe 10 years old at the most, but maybe even lower than that. It's a movie that wasn't meant to be on the same level as something like A Little Mermaid Ariel's beginning, although that was made for little girls too. But like, at least the Disney animated movies were made for families in general. This is a movie that's made for little girls and little kids in general, and for what it is, it's perfectly salvageable for what it is. I mean, there's nothing really all that wrong about it per se. It's nothing really that great either, but it is what it is, and I think the target audience will enjoy for what it is. A great voice cast overall in here. Not just Mae Whitman, but Kristen Chenoweth, Raven-Symoné, Lucy Liu, America Ferrera is in here as well. Jesse McCartney. They have prolific Angelica Houston, Jeff Bennett, Rob Paulsen, Pam Adlon. I mean, they have a lot of good names in here. Sometimes there's a good joke here and there, but other than that, again, it is what it is. It's a movie that is clearly made for little girls, little kids in general, and it's not made for somebody like me in my 30s to really get into. And yeah, it really isn't. Me personally, I don't think it's anything that special. But again, it's not made for me. It's made for little kids, and for little kids, it's perfect for them. There's nothing bad about it. It's a completely harmless movie. And it is a film that if I was a little kid in general, maybe not as a boy, but I probably would have enjoyed this for what it is. But as it is, it's just it is what it is. Like you can tell what it is from the get-go, and if you go into this movie expecting anything more than that, you're going to be very disappointed by that. But other than that, it is what it is. Tinkerbell is a pretty good movie overall for kids, but that's all I got to say about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to, let's get to some more adult stuff here. Yeah, we're going from Tinkerbell to Extreme Movie. That's what we're doing in this bitch.
Chuck, I'm ready to take things to the next level.
We're gonna do it?
I think I'm ready to take things to the next level.
What other level is there?
I want you to stick it in my... Next level! Next level!
Welcome to Great Bay High School.
We got a lot to do and a little time to do it.
Where young minds are shaped.
Sexuality is a living, breathing thing. Partner up, people.
Stacy needs a partner. We've been trying to tap that since the 5th grade.
I don't think there's any girls left.
Class, I'd like to introduce you to our first gay couple. Mike, I think you're going to be on bottom.
And the real education
I'm never gonna get lucky.
I had a girl in a chat room.
Well, maybe I'll give it a try.
begins after class.
We should meet. Come to 429 Covington Avenue, apartment 8. Wear a mask. Doing anything special tonight? No.
Did somebody order the... You won't be so feisty when I'm...
From the studio that brought you the original Scary Movie
Are you sure you know what you're doing? Gotta make sure she's really hot.
comes a movie so outrageous
You ready? I'm ready.
So, who goes first?
you won't believe your eyes.
We've been friends
for a really long time. Maybe it's time we take things to the next level.
Next level?
Extreme movie.
I'm your sex toy. You don't even have to wear no Jimmy hat.
I mean, Jesus, I didn't think anything could kill Kevin Hart more than Soul Plane, but that came pretty close. I mean, that was literally right up there. And yeah, that trailer completely lies to you. This is not one of those generic teen sex comedies. No, this is a sketch comedy movie. And they don't tell you that in that trailer there. That makes it look like you're watching something like Sex Drive or another American Pie movie. But no, nothing could be further from the truth on this movie. This is a sketch comedy movie focusing on teen sex, and I guess teenagers is and a little bit of an overstatement here, because I mean most of these people in here are not even close to teenager range, but. This is a series of vignettes starting with Matthew Lillard's sex advice intercut with every couple segments. You have a character played by Ryan Pinkston trying to impress his crush Stacy. One character, Fred, played by Michael Cera, meets a girl online, and they arrange for menacing action, only for Fred to break into the wrong apartment, as you see in the trailer there. The promiscuous Betty goes to the next level, kinkier and kinkier, with more outrageous sexual adventures with Chuck, played by Frankie Muniz, and later Fred. Justin buys a vibrating vagina, Justin played by Andy Milonakis, and falls in love with it. All the time while crushing on another girl, the vibrating vagina has a personality of its own and commits suicide when Justin rejects it. There's a real sex-esque sketch where a girl attempts to have sex with two black men on campus. Two guys, Barry and Leon, one of them played by Kevin Hart, and the other played by... If this is the same thing I'm thinking of here... Well, yeah, okay, here it is. It's weird. I'm looking at the cast list here so I can find both of their names here, but they have Kevin Hart's name, who's Barry, at the top, and Leon, the other guy, is all the way down at like 6 or 7 on here. Is played by Jermaine Williams. Jessica, is played by Regan Wallace. In an attempt to become horny, puts a vibrating cell phone in her vagina, only for it to fall in. Len, played by Ben Feldman, wakes up to find another girl in his bed, and his parents home as well. The whole thing turns out to be a hidden camera bisexual show. Sex education teacher Mr. Matthews, who's played by John P. Farley, teaches his class with no rules and a lot of embarrassment, usually centering around Ryan Pinkston's Mike character. And Ronnie, who's played by... Again, they don't have all these names listed on here. Hank Harris... I think I'm getting that right. Hank Harris, obsessed with Abraham Lincoln, creates a time machine and travels back in time to have sex with Lincoln. I feel like I just got dumber as I kept reading the synopsis, and it doesn't help when the DVD cover for this looks absolutely abysmal. I mean, just look at this. Look at this. What am I even looking at here? Like, were people really suckered into watching this movie with that? Like, they just took a stock picture of both Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy. That's not even... It doesn't even look like Michael Cera. Ryan Pinkston, like... just is dropping trout for no reason whatsoever. There's a girl here in a dominatrix outfit, which is not the same girl we saw in the trailer, and there's a random blonde girl who's naked over the unrated thing, because if you watch it, you're going to see boobs, and I guess that's all that matters to this fucking movie. But the weirdest thing about this whole thing is that the writers on this movie, these are not hack writers. Will Forte, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, Andy Samberg, Akiva Schaffer, John Solomon, Jorma Taccone, Erica Rinjova. These are not hack writers. These are writers that we know have gone on to become great writers in their own rights. But man, what a mess of a movie this is. I mean, this is unbelievably bad. I mean, it's like somebody saw the Kentucky Fried Movie, which you should see. Like, that's a sketch comedy film that works. That is very offensive, very raunchy, very sexy, and is just so goddamn brilliant. I mean, that's a John Landis Zucker Brothers production that is definitely worth a watch. I feel like somebody who was watching that and said, we can do the exact same thing, except we can make it even stupider, right? And make it dumb. Because the Kentucky Fried Movie was it dumb at times, but sometimes it could be really, really smart and really, really funny. But here, oh my god, this was an abortion to watch. Like, even if I had to watch it for free online, like, I wasted 75 minutes of my life and I'm never getting back watching this goddamn movie. That's how bad this movie is. This is a terrible, terrible movie. And common sense would have probably told me to stay away from it back in the day, which I did. And then, knowing that I had a chance to talk about this and say, I'm going to watch it, why not? How bad could it possibly be? And it's like you're making Friedberg and Seltzer movies look better by comparison. I mean, that's how bad this movie is. That's how terrible this pile of garbage is. Just, again, I think that right there is everything that you need to know to not see Extreme movie. There are so many better things you could be doing with your life than watching this pile of garbage. You can go see an uplifting World War II movie with Daniel Craig. That's our last one we have here. Let's switch over to that awkward transition to Defiance.
The Day of Freedom is an act of faith. I almost lost my faith, but you were sent by God to save us.
Well, of course he is. He's James friggin' Bond. I mean, what else did you expect? But this is of course a World War II movie set during the occupation of Belarus by Nazi Germany. And this is an account of the eponymous group that led by Polish Jewish brothers who saved and recruited Jews in Belarus during World War II, of which one of them is Daniel Craig. We also have Liev Schreiber, Jamie Bell, and George McKay, along with Alexa Davalos and Mark Fairston among the cast here. This is directed by Edward Zwick, and Edward Zwick very rarely misses on a movie. I mean, the worst things he's done, like The Siege and all that, had some things about it that made it work at times, but yeah, it's definitely a film made by somebody who knows what they're doing, like who has an idea of how to make this work in general. But even with all that said, this is definitely not one of his better films. This guy's made a lot of good movies in his career, but as much as the casting overall is really good, Daniel Craig I thought did a pretty good job in here, so did Liev Schreiber. The script itself is pretty generic overall. It feels like it's trying to combine both Saving Private Ryan and a little bit of Schindler's List into one, and kind of failing to do that on a number of different levels. Like, even the war scenes in particular that they show in here are really not as spectacular as they could have been. I mean, it's, like I said, not a bad movie overall, but just definitely felt like a film that had so much more that they could have done here, but it just wasn't worth it in the end. So, unfortunately, a skip on Defiance, even though it's not as bad as it could have, as I made it out to be early on, but it's definitely not as good as it could have been, especially considering who's directing this movie, with Edward Zwick. So, mixed opinion, but mostly leaning towards a negative on Defiance. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we take a look at the first 3 movies of the last year of the first decade of the 21st century. And it is January, so that means let's bring out the movies that were dumped on this weekend because the studios knew how bad they were. You want bad movies? We've got 3 bad ones for you. Kate Hudson and Anne Hathaway in Bride Wars. Odette Yusman coming off of Cloverfield and David S. Goyer's The Unborn and Not Easily Broken. Great list of movies we've got coming your way tomorrow on the show, so definitely be on the lookout for that. Yeah, you're not going to enjoy it as much as... You're not going to enjoy it, I'm not going to enjoy it, but we got to get through it anyway. So we will cover those movies tomorrow on the show. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, please go ahead and hit that playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. That's where you get updates on when new videos come out, and we do post new videos here every day. So, with all that said, I am off. I'll see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.